get caught. That Crédit Mobilier scandal is an example of the time period. There's also stock watering, and a little bit on the stocks right here. Stocks are what companies give out in order for people to give them money. If you buy a share of stock, you get part ownership of the company. You give the company $100, you get a share of the stock. Why would you give $100 to a company? They give you a piece of paper, a share of the stock. Well, that share entitles you to a proportional amount of the profits of the company. Might be big, it might be small, depending on the amount of stock you own. Those profits are called dividends. And so you invest, hoping the company's going to make money, and you get a dividend from your stock. Now, the stock might go up or down depending on a variety of factors. We'll learn more about that during the Great Depression. But the stock is an investment you make depending upon how much you think the company is worth and how much money it's going to make. Well, if you lie about your company, you are watering the stock and you're getting people to invest on untruth. And that untruth often results in the company leaving with the stock investors' money and essentially lying and cheating and making money that way. Well, that stock watering was going on all the time, and it's called stock watering because stock watering. Why would it be called stock watering? Lying about the true worth of the company. Well, maybe it's like what other thing is called stock? Cowies. Cows are stock also. And if you give them salt, what happens to the cow? The cow drinks a lot of water and becomes heavier, and they're watered down. You buy a cow that doesn't really have all that much meat. It has water in it, therefore it's water. And so that kind of fraud was going on too. And then finally, there are pools. And pools, by definition, which you need to know if you're going to do American history, pools are informal agreements to set price. If you understand anything about American capitalism in the late 1800s, you do not want capitalism to work. What you want is to set price. You don't want price to be set by the laws of supply and demand. You want price to be set by you. Therefore, you make money. Think about it. We're running a railroad. We're running the railroad from here to Santa Maria. Well, how much does it cost me to get my goods? You know, how much are we going to charge to get a shipment of coal from here to Santa Maria? $100. Well, somebody else builds a railroad and then says, we'll do it for 99. And a third person says, builds a railroad, does it for 98. Well, what am I going to do when I charged 100? I'm going to go to 97. And that competitive free market law of supply and demand will eventually drive the price of shipping the coal down so much that we'll all go belly up because we are competing. We don't want price to be set by the law of supply and demand because that doesn't make us any money. So what do? We agree to informally set the price. We all say, hey, don't tell the laws of capitalism, but we're going to charge 95, all of us. It's all going to be 95, and we all have an informal agreement to set price. Brilliant, wonderful. Gee, I wonder why gas stations are all the same price, all three of them on the same corner. I wonder why I call up and say, hey, I want to fly to New York City. All the airlines have roughly the same price. Wonder if that's going on right now in America. That pool was there, and thus it's not helping the consumer out. He shipping coal, and especially who's got to ship stuff on the railroads. Farmers are now being charged too much. So what's the result? For the first time in American history, the federal government will walk in. Now, it's a two-part process. The first is the Wabash case. You have farmers getting messed over in given states. And those farmers organize. And we'll see on Wednesday, or 2 days from now, we'll see how those organized farmers go to the state legislature and say, they're charging us too much. They're illegally, they're setting price. This is wrong. And you get state laws saying that Railroads can't do this to farmers. Great, all good, wonderful. What are the railroads going to do? We're going to take it to the Supreme Court. And of course, think, what does the Supreme Court do? The Supreme Court says, state laws cannot regulate interstate commerce, because interstate commerce is a federal government law. That's the domain of the federal government. States can't regulate interstate commerce. That's federal government. I wonder if that's Gibbons v. Ogden that we studied before. Ironically, who brought Gibbons v. Ogden? Cornelius Vanderbilt. He brought the lawsuit to break up the trade between New Jersey and New York City and Manhattan. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So the Supreme Court strikes down state law that says that railroads can't do this. Does that stop the problem? Oh no. Because now what do we still have going on? These intercontinental railroads charging too much. So everybody goes to Congress and everybody says we need help. And for the first time in American history, the federal government regulates a business. And the federal government creates the Interstate Commerce Commission in 1887. For the first time in United States history, the federal government regulates a business. Oh my gosh. The Interstate Commerce Commission. Did it do anything, however? I'd go over to the board right now and draw, but maybe I will. Because it had no what? It had no what? It had no what? It had no what? It had no teeth. It was purposefully set up not to have any enforcement mechanism. It had no teeth, so therefore, historic step in 1887 with no bite, no teeth, no enforcement mechanism, and didn't do anything. Now, what's our next industry? Oh, and I'm sorry, there's the picture. If you see that picture, you see we span the country with amazing technology, and the result is we have across the world. We're not going to deal with technology. Actually, look at the inventors. Whoops, look at the inventors. We have great inventions. I wonder if we're going to call that machines. 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 They are what account for the incredible economic growth of America during this time period. But it's not that. It's not technology. We'll deal with all of that down the line. All of it's very good. All of it very good. The result of technology. Steel. Steel! And that man, he is our person on steel. The growth, again, know your stats. Metaphor, oh wait, railroads were maybe the blood? How about steel being the skeleton? I don't know. You guys come up with the metaphor. But the person is Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie, proper pronunciation, I don't care what you say, it's Andrew Carnegie. Rags to riches, bobbin boy to billionaire, Irish immigrant, Scottish Irish immigrant coming over as poor as can be, worked in the railroads, learned the business, got a steel factory, made money out of the steel factory. An amazing American success story of incomparable ability and wealth. He's the guy. Of course, what does he do? He takes the latest technology, he applies it across the board in his plants at an amazing, amazing ability. The technology we go back to, Bessemer Kelly. Bessemer Kelly is a way of taking cold air and blowing the cold air across molten iron ore in a giant steel factory to make the metal that comes out a higher product, a better product, a more durable product than the iron would be there. Iron ore heated up will make a metal. Well, this metal, the steel, is much better because of the Bessemer Kelly process. Carnegie didn't invent it. He just took it and used it better at factories. Now, there's a whole bunch of extraordinary toxic pollutants that drop out of it. But it's a great, great process. And he made it work. He's the best businessman we've ever had. And he set price through efficiency. He set price because he could produce the steel better than anyone else. And that's his incredible thing. And look at it. I'm going to go here. I think we're all done with this board. And I'm going to show you what he does, because his technological innovation is amazing. Here are all the people out there in life who need steel, right? Here are all the steel producers. Each of these boxes is a different steel producer. He, Andrew Carnegie, was brilliant. He said, I will own every single company that is necessary in order to produce the steel. Steel producers, companies needed to produce steel. This is called, watch the incredible teaching technique by using a different color. This is called vertical integration. And vertical integration is when you own every single step along the manufacturing process. Here's the iron ore field, and I own the company that takes it out. Here's the railroad that is necessary to send it. Here's the coal field that's necessary. Here's one steel manufacturing place. Here's another. Every single step is owned by Carnegie Steel along the way to get here. Therefore, what have I done? I've allowed for capitalism. But my price as a producer to the people is much less because I've cut out the middleman. There are no, I'm not paying anybody else. There are no other people I'm paying. I own every step of the process. I've cut out profit of all those other people. I'm able to set price because I'm better at it. I'm more efficient at it. Andrew Carnegie, thank you for vertical integration. It is amazing. And the result, oh my gosh, look at those factories. Look at the, not brothel, okay. And then finally, oil. Oil, our person is John D. Rockefeller. And no one is better at it than John D. Rockefeller. Again, growth in oil industry, you got to be able to come up with it. Oil is the blood. What are our metaphors? Oh, we had railroads or the skeleton, steels, something, oil, something. You come up with your metaphor. But the person's John D. Rockefeller. Was he rags to riches? No, he wasn't. You're going to read about him, and you'll read well about him. He's a middle class, upper middle class guy who got everything he ever wanted. He portrayed himself as rags to riches, as nothing to everything. Andrew Carnegie truly was. But John D. Rockefeller, no. He was not. He had everything he ever wanted in his life and took advantage of that. As pious, know the word. What are some other words? As brilliant, he knew every single thing you could possibly know about the manufacturing of oil. He was amazing in how he could account for anything in any part of his company at any point in time, and about as nice as a rock in the face. He would go to your mom, tell her that she's charming and wonderful, and then steal everything out of your house. This is as evil, as cutthroat, as ruthless, and brilliant a man as we've ever seen in American society. You can't beat him for business practice. You can't beat him for ruthlessness. You can't get anybody more dynamic, awful. Look at it. He just looks bad as an amazing person. His innovation was not vertical integration. His innovation, his way of setting price, which is what you want to do, was horizontal integration. Here's his company, A. He bought or blew up or destroyed everybody else producing oil. Horizontal integration is to go to your competitor and say, I'd like to buy your company. And the competitor would say, no. Well, he would then blow up the pipeline for his competitor. And then within 6 months, the competitor goes, okay, I got to sell you the company. After B got blown up, what would C say? C would say yes.